You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
I'm Toni Heath.
And this is the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon.
Right now?
Yep. Today we're going to be talking about the second serial of the 10th season of Doctor Who, Carnival of Monsters.
Oh, man.
Now, it consists of 4 episodes that aired from January 27th, 1973 to February 17th, 1973.
True facts!
And I'd like to give a special shout out to Matt Golden of mgoldentumbles.tumblr.com. That's Tumbles without an E because it's Tumblr. For getting us these episodes.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
You're shiny. If you'd like to get a special shout-out mention like that on the podcast, feel free to head on over to watcherassilon.com/support. There you can find a link to our Amazon wish list, and you can purchase the serials on DVD for us. And then we'll mention you at the top instead of Matt Golden like we always do. And that one time bisexual brigadier. 2 times, actually. But, yeah. So, go do that, and we'll say thanks, because that's the least we can do. The most we could do is high-five you.
But nothing beyond that.
So, how's it going?
Not great.
Really? Why?
I've just been having a funky day.
Well, this is going to lead to a good podcast.
I mean, you asked, and I decided I was going to answer honestly.
Do you think that's going to influence your ability to podcast?
Nah.
Fascinating.
I figure I'll just skate through it and let you carry most of the episode, so...
Oh, the huge. Yeah, it's been busy at work.
We are both working in a thing right now where it's quarter change, and so it's much is happening.
Lots and much. Not to mention many.
Yeah, also many.
But Doctor Who's fun. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Carnival of Monsters.
I'm almost mad at this episode because I feel like I made such a big deal about the time monster being bonkers, and then this episode happened. And I was like, I didn't even know what bonkers was back then. I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about.
So you think this episode's more bonkers?
Like, in an actual storytelling sense, makes more sense. But it's definitely doing a lot.
I don't think it's doing quite as much
As the time monster?
random off-the-wallness as the time monster.
That's true. But it's doing a lot. I mean, it's doing fewer things better, but it's still doing them at, like, 11.
That's true. It's a good serial.
Yeah.
The end. We're done. You want to talk about it?
Nah.
Okay. Episode 1, which I have called The Collection of Bernice.
Adequate?
Do you know why?
No.
Alright, we'll explain it as we go. A spaceship lands on a weird alien planet, and then there's these gray guys.
They have great astronaut. Like, you know, like the big sort of puffy, like what you want an astronaut to be wearing. The
Right.
big puffy gray spacesuits is what they got going on.
Well, not these guys. Do
Oh,
they?
no?
I'm talking about the gray-faced people. Do they have those gray suits on too? I don't remember.
They're very similar. I don't
Well,
think...
they're not the passengers.
No.
I think they have like
But
sort
I
of more
think
like
they're-
Gallifreyan type look.
Oh.
But less Gallifreyan. It's less fancy.
It's very drab.
They look kind of like, you know, Mr. Mxyzptlk or...
Nobody knows that.
You guys ever, like, read Green Lantern?
No.
And there's the, like, Owens, the OA, the guys from OA, and they look kind of like Oompa Loompas, but they look
Without any sort of joy?
Yeah, they look like gray Oompa Loompas. They have, like, the same hair, almost like the same sort of, like, balding hair pattern, but it's all gray. And they're not, you know, Oompa Loompa size. They're
tall.
They're tall.
Yes, that was a pretty apt description. It took a long time to happen, but it was apt.
And they are the main people on this planet.
And they're amazing. They're also the worst.
They're basically like a comedy trio. But there's also these other gray people that are like sort of like
They're the
minions.
ones who have the minions.
The minions. Because some packages start arriving and they're sorting the packages. And they have really bad masks on. I don't know if it was supposed to be their face or if they were wearing masks.
No, those were supposed to be their faces.
Well, then why'd they leave in that one shot where he's clearly fixing his mask?
Because it's early Doctor Who. What do you want?
To trim that first second or two off so you don't see his finger inside of his, like, eye hole. But then the people arrive that you're thinking about.
Yes, the people with the spacesuits. They're the same, everything's like that same gray color. They take off these gray, drabby spacesuits and are wearing the most amazing costumes I think I have ever seen. Ever?
I want to cosplay as them. Their names are Vorg and Sherna. Vorg is a circus man. He's got a shiny, bejeweled coat covered in Fruit Loops.
Yeah, Fruit Loops.
Giant Fruit Loops.
His vest is purple and green stripes, and his pants are bright orange.
The green and purple vest, by the way, is over a blue plaid button-up that has a giant, like, sort of, like, you know those, like, ceiling fans with, like, the big, like, leafy blades?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like that kind of a bow tie. And he
looks like it was cut from a milk carton. I think it might have been cut from a milk carton.
Might have been. He has glasses, a very giant, luxurious
mustache that curls at the end.
And he has a clear, see-through bowler hat.
Yes. Okay.
And that is Vorg.
Sherna has on a green leotard it's got pink on the side, blue tights, pink gloves, and like the pink gloves have like white, I guess, pearls around the edge. She has these big, chunky green and orange earrings and like a real long, I don't even know, dangly necklace choker thing. All the leotard, the tights, the gloves, all of it have like fuzz balls all over it. Just like different colored puffballs like glued randomly. And her hair, I think it's wire and beads, like a headband of just like a whole bunch of them, of like pink and green beads coming out of her head.
It's pretty amazing.
It's
she also
great.
has boots.
Oh, green go-go.
Go-go. Green go-go.
Green go-go boots, too, yes. And it's like, from the minute that they, like, take off these, like, boring spacesuits, you're just like, oh, this is gonna be a good serial. This is gonna be fun.
They're amazing, and I love them. Shortly after they arrive, I kind of zoned out. Did one of the gray minion people try to run away?
Yes.
And was shot by a tuning fork.
Well, yes, essentially.
A tuning fork ray gun that one of the gray people had.
Yes.
There's the gray people, the gray minions.
They call themselves, what do they call themselves? The, like, prime species, or the main, something... there's racism. Yes, they shoot... Which we don't super deal with, by the way. Just, like, spoilers.
Those masked people just sort of stop being in the episode, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't leave them better off than we did.
There was there was this whole like little subplot of like a revolt or something, but that doesn't. I mean, it didn't really.
It's not really
that much.
Yeah, important to the main part of the story.
He was just trying to get theirs. Like one of them was trying to get their support to sort of like overthrow the other guy. So
not for like their freedom.
Right, just because he wants to be the leader,
right,
of the Three Stooges. I'm gonna start calling them the Three Stooges. I don't know their names. One of the Three Stooges looks an awful lot like Paul Scheer. If you know who Paul Scheer is,
you know I don't.
He is a comedian who looks like that.
Oh, yeah, he does.
One of them is Paul Scheer.
He
just a
like
heads
a
up.
Friend.
Him?
Yeah.
Probably. Toni wants to be friends with Paul Scheer. Paul Scheer, if you want to be on this podcast. He's been on Comedy Bang Bang a lot. So he does podcasts.
Just like right at the same caliber of Comedy Bang Bang.
Exactly.
Literally, if you were listening to this or Comedy Bang Bang, you couldn't tell the difference. There's a very good chance you're actually listening to Comedy Bang Bang right now.
And Paul Scheer, if you come on the show, you have connections. Bring Paul F. Tompkins with you.
Oh my god, leave Paul F. Tompkins alone!
I will, once he's been on the podcast. Anyway, the TARDIS arrives. It stinks. He says that we're supposed to be on this, like, really nice planet, the blue planet of something or other.
Yeah, he still doesn't know how to fly it.
This is the first time he's flown it.
Oh, I'm so excited! Who were we talking to that, like, we were really excited? And
it was Vince.
It was Vince.
He's like, maybe blah, 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 and he won't be flying it. But yeah, he flies it.
He didn't fly it where he meant to yet, so it doesn't seem like he has control over the TARDIS just yet.
Well, I feel like he has as much control over it as he did when he was 1 or 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We have not yet reached a point where he is piloting the TARDIS with any consistency.
Question, though. Have we ever gotten to that point?
I think yes.
Or has the TARDIS and him come to more of an understanding?
That the TARDIS is more likely to, if he's just like, please, let me have this one time. That's probably true. He probably still doesn't know how to fly it, really. He's just like
flipping switches and pulling things, and really it's just TARDIS like, alright, I know where you want to go.
He knows how to talk to the TARDIS now more than pilot it.
Yeah.
That feels right.
But back to Vorg and Sherna. They start their pitch, which basically they're carnies.
Yeah.
And they have a machine.
Tell them what the machine does, Joe.
Should we tell them yet? Or should we get into the boat thing and save it for later? So back on the boat. The doctor's like, we're on this blue planet. And Joe is like, no, we're not. We're on Earth. Because he's like, also says like they're in a moving thing. And then he's like, maybe I overshot the planet and we're in
like orbit.
Yeah, or on a ship or something, and he's like, but we're nowhere near Earth. And then she's like, what about this box that says Singapore on it?
I think we're on a boat going to Singapore.
And there's chickens. Look at all these chickens, Doctor.
The doctor tries to talk to the chickens. He's like, you don't know. They might be the dominant life forms. And Joe's like, no, they're chickens. From Earth.
Those chicken noises were provided by Katie Manning.
That's great.
But they've realized they're on a boat, and the doctor's like, well, maybe it's an evil boat.
Maybe it's an evil boat?
He's being very Briggish. Whereas the Brig was like, no, this is Earth. This has to be Earth. Even though it's clearly not Earth, the doctor's like the complete opposite. Of like, this isn't Earth. It can't be Earth. There's no way it could be Earth. I mean, to be fair.
He's not wrong?
He's not wrong, but it is Earth-ish.
It is mostly Earth.
Or, as it's called in this serial, well, the Earthlings are not called Earthlings. They're called Tellurians, which apparently is what Robert Holmes likes to call Earthlings.
Alright.
This is the first time it's been brought up, and it's been brought up in later serials that he's written. Also, the original title for this serial was called Peep Show.
Oh, I see why they changed it.
He did not like the change. But I think Carnival of Monsters sounds cooler.
Yeah. I feel weird about saying that Peep Show was one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who.
So there's a TV show called Peep Show.
Yes.
And apparently lots of people like it. I've not seen it.
It made me feel nauseous.
I've heard it gets better. I mean, it still keeps that whole POV aspect, but they figure out the camera work a little bit better. Or maybe you just get used to it. Then they sort of bump into some people on the boat, though they hide from them because
that's what you do when you meet new people.
They're not supposed to be on the boat.
That's true.
And
you don't want to be accused of being a stowaway?
Stowed away.
You don't want to be accused of being a stowaway.
No, it's stowed away. Because that's what you do. You get stowed away.
You have been stowed away.
And there's like this plantation owner, I think?
Yeah, he is a plantation owner.
He's like, oh shit, what's that guy's name? The Kentucky Fried fella.
Colonel.
He's like very Colonel Sanders light. And I guess his daughter is going to go walking around the boat with this Captain Andrews guy.
Mm-hmm. He's not the captain.
No? He's some sort of like Navy or something. He's some sort of like person who would carry a gun or something. I don't know.
He's not the captain of the boat.
Like an admiral or something.
Yeah, he might be...
He's not a captain of the boat. He might be captain of something else, though.
What's a captain?
Like, a rank.
Yeah, but what does that rank mean?
It means you are in control of the crunch.
So, he's in control of the crunch.
And you better not oops all berries, or you get demoted to admiral? I don't know what direction they go. Anyway, he's going to go on a walk on the boat, and the plantation owner is going to read a book.
But then there's a sea monster.
Well, the guy falls asleep. The plantation owner falls asleep. And then the doctor's still saying it's not Earth. Joe takes the newspaper from the room and is like, look, We're just
Not just from the room, she takes it from the sleeping man's hands.
And she's like, look at this paper. And it's like, it's 1926. And she's like, we're in the past, you idiot. And then a sea monster shows up. It's a pretty good sea monster.
That is. And he's like, ha! See? That sea monster's some sort of dinosaur?
Plesiosaur or something. He's like, he's been dead for millions of years. Even by 26 standards. Because we didn't have dinosaurs in the 1920s, did we?
Oh yeah, totally, we did. Just not those dinosaurs.
What rank did they have?
They're dinosaurs.
Oh, so you just put dinosaur before their name? Dinosaur Carl. That's your rank as dinosaur?
They're dinosaurs.
Everyone in the sea has a rank.
They're dinosaurs, they do what they want. Everyone in the sea has a rank?
Everyone in or on the sea has a rank. Anyone related to the sea.
What nonsense are you talking about?
I'm talking about the sea. You wouldn't know. You're not a seaman.
What do you know about the sea?
I know that it's where water is. And you put boats on it, and there's fish.
In the sea?
And everybody has a rank!
What the fuck you're talking about?
Atlantis may or may not be there.
Some straight nonsense.
Actually, Atlantis is and is not there. Both. So, the sea monster happens very briefly. Nothing really happens. There's no real danger from this sea monster.
No.
It just sort of goes, rawr, and then the Doctor and Joe try to sneak out but get caught. And they're like, stowaways. And then the guy who may or may not be a captain, whatever he is.
He's not a captain, because that would be too confusing. A boat can't have two different captains.
Whatever he is. I think he's a captain. I could be wrong.
He's not a captain, because he's multiple times he's like, I'm going to take you to the captain. And
we never see the captain.
We never see the captain.
Well, whatever he is.
It's not a captain.
He's the one going around on a walk on the boat with the daughter because they's in love. He is a future companion.
He is?
I think so, yeah. Harry Sullivan, which previous guest Brian Snape has started a podcast called, I believe, Harry Sullivan is an Idiot.
Is he an idiot?
Probably. I may be getting the name of that podcast wrong, but it's something like that.
Oh, good for you for promoting him.
You're welcome, Brian. No, is an imbecile. Harry Sullivan is an imbecile, which is something that apparently the Doctor once yelled.
So he's a companion. Will we see him soon?
I think he's a fourth Doctor companion.
Okay.
Maybe a fifth. I think he's fourth, though. So, yeah, eventually. But yeah, he's like, I want to take you to the brig or whatever. Not the brigadier. That's confusing.
That's what I'm saying.
A brig is also a cell. Or he takes him to a room, basically. Like
he actually doesn't take him. He takes him to the plantation owner's quarters.
Weren't they already there, or was he at somewhere else just reading a book in some random room? They got caught in the room where the plantation owner fell asleep reading a book.
Yes.
That's not his quarters?
No.
I don't understand this boat.
Listen, he can read a book wherever he wants.
Alright, fine.
I think where he was at was like very much an office setup. There was like a desk.
And a newspaper.
And a chair. Things you would find in an office.
On a boat. So anyway, they're not supposed to be there, so they get taken away because they're going to bring the captain to see him whenever he's not busy. On the way there, though, in the hallway, they find
hatch.
Octagonal metal plate on the floor that no one else can see except the Doctor and Joe. Everyone else is like, what are you talking about? There's nothing there, which is weird. And so they get taken in, and then they find out what the name of the boat is, which is the SS Bernice, which apparently is famous. It's like a less famous version of the Mary Celeste, which we didn't know about.
So we didn't know about this one either?
Like, we know about the Mary Celeste because of the chase. Is the SS Bernice real? Or is this something they just made up for the episode?
Yeah, and there are dinosaurs on it. Dinosaurs actually ran the whole boat.
Okay, when the first thing I find when I search SS Bernice
is all Doctor Who stuff. That leads me to believe that it's not real. So it's not real.
It's not real.
Somebody wanted to do a story about the Mary Celeste, and they were like, we did it already.
Okay, so it was a thing in the episode until he fixes it at the end, and then its notoriety got removed from history.
Ah. So it was real.
I mean...
before he fixed it.
it's real within the story, but not in real life.
Yeah, because he fixed it.
Listen, you know this is a fictional show, right?
Because he fixed it.
Okay, yes, sure. Because he fixed it. Also, the Statue of Liberty is a giant angel.
Well, that never happened because that's dumb.
So, they're like locked in this room and Joe's like, can you sonic the door? Unlock the door? And he just says it won't work. He gives no reason for it. He just says it won't work. And I was like, bullshit. He's like, you couldn't get it out unless you had like some skeleton keys. And Joe's like, jingle, 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 jingle.
Like, oh man, it's almost like I carry skeleton keys around with me at all times. I have a degree in escapology.
Then we cut back to the entertainers. Vorg and
He
Shona.
does give a reason.
What does he say?
He says that it's too like low tech to work on it.
The lock?
Yeah, that's why he needs skeleton keys.
Oh. We go back to Vorg and Shona. The Grey people are very annoyed that they're there. But they're there to amuse the worker Grey people?
They're there to amuse anybody.
Right.
I don't know why they picked, like, that planet to go to. Like, it was obviously a terrible idea. They, like, start giving their pitch, and then, like, the three Grey guys are like, amusement is outlawed here.
And they're like, yeah, but now we've brought it back in because everyone's bored to tears.
Because our slaves are starting to act up. It's like, basically, they're like, yeah, the president's decided that maybe if we let our slaves have, like, some fun, they'll quit trying to rebel all the time.
They say that their visa application has been rejected because two of them don't want them there, and one of them like they should be here, but he gets outvoted. And then they're like, "Hey, you can't reject us. We have this thing from the Great Zarb, who the Zarb is like the guy who runs the president
guy.
Which it's not from Zarb.
It's just from some asshole off the street named Zarb.
Yeah, somebody they met at a previous carnival hookup.
Also, it's a cassette.
It's a cassette tape. Not like a VHS, like the kind that plays music. For you kids out there, it's a thing that you can put a pencil in and twist it if the shit falls out of it.
Children now totally understand what cassettes are.
Okay, it's like an advanced 8-track. Did that help? It's like a square plastic record or CD, and it plays music. It has two sides. Much like any tale has two sides.
I think it's 6.
What? 6 sides? What the fuck are you talking about?
It's a 3D rectangle. Shit's got 6 sides.
Listen, there's only 2 sides of the thing you can play.
I didn't know that's what we were talking about.
That's what I was talking about. There's side A and side B. Sometimes side B is blank, because they either didn't have enough songs or they want you to put your own shit there. Question, is it on like one side of the tape and the other music's on the other side of the tape? How does that work? That makes sense, too, because you, like, fast-forward and rewind it, and it fucks up the other side of the tape. Listen, I've never really thought about cassette tapes this hard before. Anyway, they give this cassette tape to one of the Grey people, and he goes to check it out with President Zarb.
Comes back, and he's like, that mix was fire.
Can you say that louder for the microphone?
I can't say things like that without sounding like somebody's youth pastor.
Meanwhile, the doctor and Joe are studying the plate that they found. And the doctor's like, I need to get some tools from the TARDIS in order to open it. And then they notice that they're hearing a conversation that they had already heard. It's a loop. The boat is on 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 a loop. The boat is like a cassette tape on a loop.
If I don't stop you, how long will you do this for?
The boat is on a loop. Anyway, the boat is on a loop, and then we find out what the
boat's on a loop?
Then we find out what the entertainers say they have. They have this box, and it has a collection in it.
Okay, here's the thing. Their box simultaneously makes me the happiest I've ever been and pisses me the fuck off. It's a lot like you.
Alright. So, okay. The Doctor and Joe go to the TARDIS.
You don't want anything to do with that?
I want to explain it when we get into episode 2. We're very close. So Joe and the Doctor go to the TARDIS. Joe wants to leave. She wants no part in these shenanigans. Which makes me, like, why? Just have fun, Joe.
Have some shenanigans.
And when they get to the TARDIS, the roof of the boat comes off. And a giant hand comes in and picks up the TARDIS.
They're so small! They've been small this whole time! The hand was so big and the TARDIS was so small. They've been small the whole time.
And that's the end of episode 1. We're now into episode 2. Which I have called Eradicate the Entertainment. So then we see
the whole TARDIS in his whole hand.
Vorg. Vorg has the TARDIS.
And it's so small. It's small.
And he's like, it was clogging it up. Whatever is clogging up something. This whole thing they have is, was it a mini-sphere or some sort of sphere?
That was called the something scope.
The mini-scope. Yes, you're right. Mini-scope. And what it is, he gives a demonstration to the gray people of how it works, which is he has beings and creatures stored in this box, this scope, and then there's cameras that he can turn on and make big on his screen so you can see what's happening inside the box.
It's like a big retro TV screen at the top. It's like a tower with a TV on top of it.
Which is weird.
Right, because, okay, here's my thing. There's 2 things. If you have a bunch of, miniature creatures that's like, oh, you get to look at them, I want to fucking see them. I want to see him on TV. If that's the case, why don't you just take video? Because, at some point they're like, oh, you have, footage of all of these creatures. And he's like, no, it's happening live.
But why?
But how do I know it's happening live? Especially if they're, scenarios that loop. What's the point? Let me see the miniature creatures that you have gone through all the trouble of miniaturizing and then making sure that I can't see how small they are. Why have you done this to me? I want to see how small they are.
That's when he calls them Tellurians.
Literally, the Doctor and Joe spend, good chunks of this serial being super small. But they're in a dollhouse, basically. Everything around them is also small. What's the fun of that?
Here's some of the things that they...
No fun.
Here's some of the things that they show the gray people. Tellurians, which are the Earthlings, which they're like, look how similar they are. And he's like, to us. And they're like, yes, disturbingly similar. But then they're like, and here's some Ogrons. Remember Ogrons? Those are gonna be a thing. Those great old Ogrons. And I had to be like, why are you bringing the fucking Ogrons back? Nobody gives a shit about the Ogrons. Servants of the Daleks.
Do you know what else is in there that I thought was going to be more important?
Cybermen?
Yep.
Fun fact, that is the only time in 3's original run that there's a Cyberman.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
My first thought was 1, why are you fucking with Cybermen? Even miniature and, in a box. You have a Cyberman in a shoebox, and you just carrying it around the universe. That is a terrible idea.
But nothing comes of the Cyberman.
No, he's just also there.
What I figured was, the box was gonna spill, and all these shits would come out and grow big and then cause problems. Which, that would be fun. You have a collection of tiny miniaturized monsters that get spilt out and cause chaos. But that doesn't really happen.
Did I mention that we can't tell that they're miniature? And there's no functional difference from just leaving them all where they were and, sticking a webcam there? It's not, their fault for not knowing what a webcam is yet, but I'm just saying. I want to
live stream it.
I want it to be like a diorama where you look inside and you can see tiny people walking in tiny things. And you're like, oh my god, look at the tiny person. They're eating tiny food. Look at them sitting at that tiny table.
Let me get this straight. You're fine with them kidnapping people and sticking them in a time loop.
I didn't say that. I just said if you're going to do that, I want to see that they're small.
All right.
Obviously, ethically, it's a bad move all around. But if you're going to go through all the trouble of setting up this miniature world for beings to live in, that should be part of the draw. These people don't know what they're doing at all.
To be fair, the gray people are unimpressed.
Yeah, they were super unimpressed. God, they're hilarious.
But then though they're like, oh, wait, it's still a cool machine. Let me show you. And meanwhile, the Doctor and Joe have gotten caught again. And he's like, watch this. There's this little dial. I can make them angry. And he turns the dial up, and then Doctor and Joe are just ready to do the whole let's get thrown in the cell again shtick because it's a loop. But now they're angrier, and they're like, we're gonna shoot you! And then there's the Doctor and the whatever rank he is have a fight, and then they run. There's a chase scene where they're getting shot at. Exciting. You don't think that amps it up a bit?
No.
No?
I don't want to see that at all. I want to see them be small. I think that's very clear.
But then Doctor and Joe get away, get to the plate, and they're opening it up. And then they get the bad guys, not the bad guys, whatever they are. They catch up with them. They're about to do whatever. And then the guy turns the violence all the way down. And they just leave.
Yeah, they're about to reset the loop, I think. So they're just like, anyway, bye.
Meanwhile, Sherna thinks that they're new, but Vorg's like, they all look alike to me.
Yeah.
I don't think they're new.
It's like, they can't be new.
But then the Doctor and Joe go down into this shaft, and it's like circuits and shit.
Oh man, it's a great set. It's dark. And, like, it's all lit by, like, these glowy neon lights, and there's just sort of these crazy, like, geometrical bits everywhere, and they're, like, climbing over things, and it's a cool set. It looks like...
Fun.
Yeah, I think at some point, the Doctor says something about, like, being small enough to walk around inside of a wristwatch. Although I think the way that it's designed, it looks more like walking around inside, like, I don't know, a VCR or something.
Well, you don't know what the Doctor's wristwatch is made out of.
Good point.
You think it's clockwork and shit?
Probably not.
It looks like, probably like Gallifreyan shit. Or it's just like a Mickey Mouse watch he picked up at Disney World.
I feel like it's kind of hinted that it is Gallifreyan shit.
Really? I don't remember that.
Well, the Doctor says he petitions for him to be banned. And
that's
that
true.
makes me think that it was something that happened on Gallifrey.
And it's definitely not Vorgan Sherna's thing. He won it. We find that out later.
He won it in a card game.
Basically a shell game, shuffle thing. But yeah, the Doctor's having himself a grand old time inside of these circuits. He loves it. So meanwhile, the gray guy comes back and says that this cassette tape is a forgery, that they have imported these aliens without a license, if they are for real in this machine, and that the creatures and the machine will need to be destroyed.
These aliens are so great, they're the worst.
Eradicated.
Because, like, basically the problem is that he's done something that's against the law, and it's against the law because, like, you shouldn't be, moving people or animals without proper stuff. And so, like, I imagine that law was put in place to, like, protect people and, animals and things. And so, like, their solutions are like, well, we gotta follow this law, so we just gotta shoot all of you. Just to make sure that we're compliant with basic, civil rights stuff, so human rights stuff. We just gotta shoot all of you.
Well, just the machine and the creatures inside the machine.
Right.
Because they're worried about, like, diseases and shit.
There's one guy who's like, we don't know what they are. They might be covered in germs.
So they bring out this eradicator machine to shoot it, and it does not destroy the machine. No,
the machine is fine.
And it says, like, probably all the creatures inside of it are destroyed, though. They're not.
They're fine.
But Vorg's like, I'm gonna check the circuits. And then he, like, looks it on and is like, everything's fine. Look, see, there's a Cyberman. It's cool. And this just makes the gray people worried. Like, uh-oh.
That's, like, our biggest, baddest weapon.
And it didn't work? That's not good PR, you guys. That's gonna make people think we're weak and easily defeatable. From all this, he decides that the miniscope is actually a transmitter, and that Vorg and Sherna are spies.
There's one of the gray aliens who just sort of starts to lose it at this point.
Meanwhile, the Doctor and Joe are lost inside of the machinery. Joe gets incredibly sassy about it, and I love her. She does that thing she did before where she set something down, and they're like, I think we're going in circles, and the Doctor's like, no, we're not. I know exactly where we are. And she's like, this is where we fucking started, asshole. He's like, oh, well, maybe.
Guess you're right. And then almost immediately he's like, anyway, here's this other way to get out that I didn't do before because I just needed some exercise.
And then they're ducking and diving from a giant fork. Like a little tuning fork looking thing. Just starts poking at them and they're like jumping out of the way. That's actually a really cool effect.
Yes.
And then they look up and there's a giant eyeball peeking in at them.
Give me more!
You're very excited about this. And then the gray guy comes up to Vorg and is like, basically confronts him about it being a transmitter. He's like, I think there's a transmitter in it. And like, Vorg's like, oh, there might be. I don't know a goddamn thing about this thing. Then the TARDIS that he's just sort of he's like going through his bags and stuff and he pulls out the TARDIS.
The gray guy takes the TARDIS from Vorg. It was still in the machine, just not anywhere near like where the Doctor was. But he takes the TARDIS from Vorg and like has it in his hand and he's like, what is this? What is this? And he's like,
some stuff that was in there fucking it up.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. And as he's like yelling, it starts to get bigger, which is, the effect for it is effective, then it's not, and then it is again.
It's growing in his hand, and that's like okay-ish. But then it cuts to him like running away with it, and it's staying the exact same size.
Exact same.
And he throws it on the ground, and then it grows big inside the place, and that's pretty. That works.
Yeah.
And they're like terrified. Like, what the hell is this?
I think that's when they're like, it's probably covered in germs. We're all gonna die. What is happening?
And he basically says, like, it's just outside of the thing, so it grew to its normal size. It's not in the containment field anymore. And they're like, what if other things get out? And he's like, don't worry. It's escape proof. And then we cut to, like, the doctor sawing a hole in the wall to get out. But they wind up inside another portion of the scope, which is this marsh. The scope starts beeping and saying, there's a fault in the Drashigs area. Then Vorg's like, oh, well, if they're in there, then they're dead. Because the Drashigs are big, evil, bad things. And then like, alright, I'm looking for something hokey to come up.
Joe was like, I cannot wait to see how dumb this big, scary Drashix looks.
It's fucking terrifying. It's like big, giant sandworm slug. Oh,
they do close-ups where it's like inching forward and there are like plates on it.
Yeah, like inchworms almost.
Yeah, and it's gross and I love it.
It's like slimy and it like goes and it like busts up out of the marsh.
Yeah, when they first see it, it's like that's the sound it makes. It goes.
The one problem with it is they played the same sound effect over and over again in a loop, and it's like, and you can tell it's the exact same noise being played. But yeah, it's legitimately terrifying. And that is the end of episode 2. We are now into episode 3, which I have called Attack of the Drashig. But apparently, they're like super hunters. They will follow, like, I don't think can they not see them?
They can't see, but they will follow your scent.
So they have to, like, follow its trail.
It doesn't make any sense. Your scent is, like, strongest
where you are.
But yeah, the thing is that it's like, it just goes past him and it's like, yeah, he's going on the path of what we took to get here, and he'll follow us now.
And then there's 3 of them, and 2 of them are, like, faces are flopping into each other, and it looks like they're kissing, and that, like, makes me feel even weirder.
Does it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see the giant snake worms making out.
Listen, they're not bothering you. Don't tell them their business.
Okay, fine. It's just gross. I did not expect to see it in my Doctor Who.
They're not judging you.
They want to eat me!
Do you know how you look when you're kissing?
Yeah, and I don't put that where the Drashigs can see. I'm not filming myself kissing you. Well, there was that one time. For that one video. That makes it sound really bad. It was for a sketch. It was for the joke. It's written by Chris Cherry.
We made out in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't supposed to be us. I tried to get other people to do that role, and they all bailed out on me at the last minute, and you and I were the only ones left.
I kissed you before, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's alright. Go check it out. The Joke, written by Chris Cherry on minipineapple.com. A little plug there. So Joe is stuck in the marsh, and these Drashigs are coming. So the doctors,
way back when we were in, not that far back, like a couple minutes ago, when we were in the circuitry of the machine, we both made comments. Joe is wearing these like boots that go up to her knee, and so is the doctor. And I was like, is he wearing galoshes? Is she wearing galoshes? And then we get to this scene where, like, she's stuck knee-deep in the marsh, and, like, the doctor has to go get her out, and I was like, yes, they were prepared to do this scene. They knew they were going to be getting stuck in a marsh that day.
The doctor, at one point, says that the marsh is, like, gassy. It's gassy. It's really gassy.
Everything.
It is, like, very flammable gas, which, the Drashigs are coming, and he, like, flips his, sonic screwdriver, and the marsh just starts exploding in front of them.
Doesn't do regular locks, but it can't explode shit.
I mean, he's done it before.
I'm just saying.
He set off the mines in, Sea Devils. But, Sherna's like, can you pull him out of there? And Vor's like, I don't wanna.
You want me to put my hand in it?
She's like, yes, get him out of there.
Like, so those things will bite me.
He tries, and it's just a giant hand in front of the Drashigs.
I want more.
But Joe and the doctor get back into the machinery. They go back to where they made the hole. Then we get this whole thing where the gray people are starting to dissent and stuff and plot against each other. Because, well, first off, Sherna tells them the Drashig's going to get loose in the machinery and it's going to be a problem. One of the gray guys is like, the not leader guy is like, this might actually be a good thing. We'll get the Drashig out of there.
I don't know if any of them are a leader. They seem to be equal members of a council, hence why there are 3 of them.
Well, yeah, but this one guy wants to be like Zarb.
Yeah.
And he's like, we'll get the Drashig out of the machine, and then we'll unite the people in a war, and they'll be on my side. It's a really shitty plan.
It's worked before.
Unite against a common enemy. It's the plot to Watchmen. So, but yeah, the Drashig has sort of broken into the machinery and it's chasing the Doctor and Joe, and they're running away. They get to this big pit, which the Doctor throws a coin into, and it takes like 5 years to hit the bottom. And like, we were watching it, and Chris Cherry was watching it with us, and he's like, hey Tony, think about how small that coin is.
It'd have to be so small! Much smaller than a regular coin, which is already pretty small. I didn't get to see it be tiny.
So the Doctor's like, there's no way to get over this pit or climb down or anything. And Joe's freaking out. He's like, we'll just have to come at this issue sideways. And Joe takes him 100% literally. And he's like, yeah, let's go sideways. We can go back to the ship. That's where the ship is. It's sideways. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Good thinking, me. And she's like, we'll get some rope and we'll climb down the pit with the rope. So they go back to the boat. Joe and the Doctor hide from the people, but they catch Joe because they see her leg. And she goes off with them, but doesn't rat out the Doctor. So the Doctor can do stuff and she will distract them, basically. Which she's being very weird about, like, hey, you guys are in a loop. Do you realize you're in a loop? You know you're in a loop, right? Do you not remember anything? You don't remember anything? Are you sure you don't remember something?
I don't think she's being weird. I think she's just being like, come on.
Remember something.
Figure it out, because it's annoying me. I don't want to have to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Like, they start to toy with, like, the woman starting to remember things, but they don't, but they don't really go, I don't think they really go anywhere with that. I thought there would be some sort of dramatic payoff for it.
It does, like, when she returns back.
She, like, sort of remembers them?
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of implied that she remembers something.
I think it'd have been cooler, though, if she purposefully broke out of the loop.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But it didn't happen.
So, the Drashig breaks into the ship and starts attacking, and everybody's trying to shoot the Drashig back. And meanwhile, the gray guy has been making this plan because he's going to take a thing out of the Eradicator.
Yeah, so his plan is to get the Drashig out of the miniscope so that it can attack his people so that he can be like, oh shit, this is my brother's fault and you should all follow me now and save the day. And then everyone will be like, you're great, you're in charge.
And the Eradicator won't stop it because he's tampered with it.
Yeah, he kind of like pulls this one other guy aside and is like, hey, we're starting a revolution. And the other guy's like, oh, are we? Okay. And like his acceptance of it is very sort of dopey. He's like, well, what if something bad happens and it doesn't go the right way? And he's like, don't worry about it. And he's like, okay.
But he also says, we'll take that piece from the Eradicator that we've taken off of it, and we'll plant it on Vorg and Sherna. So if it does get found out that the Eradicator has been tampered with, we can blame it on them.
Man, we haven't really talked about, like, their attitude either towards, like, part of the thing is we talked about how, like, the president, this character's brother, has been like, we need to entertain our slave race so that they'll quit rebelling so much. And this character is like, no, we just need to be meaner so they know their place. Like, that's very much his attitude throughout this whole thing.
I would like to propose a third option of not having slaves.
That sounds hard.
Yeah, but probably for the best.
I mean, I guess.
Just have indentured servants. Meanwhile, on the ship, they start chucking dynamite at the Drashigs, which is probably not the best idea to do on a boat.
They're throwing it out of the boat.
I mean, the Drashig's in the boat. They're throwing it at the Drashig, who is in the boat.
You know what? Are you a captain? Do you know about the crunch?
I know all about the sea, Toni.
But do you?
Ask me any question.
No, about the crunch.
Yes. Listen, ask me any question about the sea. and I'll tell you.
I want you to tell me about the crunch.
I know about the crunch. Next question.
Tell me about it.
It's the crunch. Next question.
What do you know about the sea?
Everything. Next question.
Tell me one thing about the sea.
Everybody has a rank. Next question.
This is an important one.
Uh-huh.
This will determine everything. Are you listening?
Yes.
Why are you like this?
Because I'm a seaman. A man of the sea. Do you believe me now?
Have you ever been on the sea one time in your whole life?
At least twice. Been to Florida on a boat.
Did you throw up the whole time?
No, we fed Cheetos to, seagulls. And then we went to an island made entirely... Well, it wasn't made entirely, but there was, it was covered in shells. It was Shell Island, I think.
That sounds cool as shit.
And you just pick up shells, put them in a cup.
I want to pick up some shells and put them in a cup?
It was pretty cool. It's pretty badass. You wouldn't know. You're not from the... You're not from the sea. Also, mermaids, check. Moving on.
Wait, what?
They're real. That's what I'm saying. Mermaids are real. Other things from the sea are real. Narwhals, surprisingly, for real. And I did not know that for a very long time.
This was before you were an expert on the sea.
Exactly. But then I touched that wet stuff, and I was forever changed. My heart grew 3 sizes that day.
That's really bad for you.
And it's just full of salt.
You're dying.
Yeah, a little bit every day. Moving on. What are we talking about?
I have no fucking idea.
They threw dynamite at the trashings. All the circuits start failing, which Vorg refuses to believe. Because he's like...
He doesn't know how to fix it anyway.
Yeah. Also, there's a very Douglas Adams joke here, which I don't think Douglas worked on the show at this time. He's saying, they made these machines, or the circuits, or the machine, I don't remember. The company made it to last forever, and the company went bankrupt because of it. And that is a great joke. Joe, explain jokes. Because you see, the company went bankrupt because it couldn't sell anything because the thing they sold lasted forever.
I don't get it.
Yeah, because you refuse to buy new things.
I do.
You will use a cell phone that is cracked and you can't press the letter P on it.
You can if you rotate the screen.
She's not joking. She literally, her part of her screen would not work. So when she would send a text...
Part of the digitizer was going out. And so I downloaded an app that let me always rotate my screen into whatever orientation I wanted, and then it worked perfectly again.
You'd have to turn it to make 3 words.
It was like solving a Rubik's Cube every text I sent.
It'd be like, hey Toni, you want to come to this thing? And then it'd be 3 years later, yes. Because it took her 1 year per letter. Anyway. He also lost the handbook, so he doesn't know how to fix it either. But yes, they did blow up the Drashig. The doctor climbs down to the dead Drashig, and I think
it's totally invincible and the scariest thing in the world, and humans are just we got a thing for that.
That's human. That's Tellurians for you. I guess the Drashig knocked a hole in the side of the thing, and the doctor climbs out of the machine, and he's super tiny, and he passes out.
He's so small! He's so small.
He's a tiny doctor.
Everything else around him, much bigger than he is.
And that is the end of episode 3. We're now into episode 4, which I've called Planet of Giants Phase 2, because there's a whole thing about Phase 2 in this episode, and also Planet of Giants was a previous episode of Doctor Who.
The best one. The best episode of Doctor Who of all time, Planet of Giants.
So Toni is immediately sad at the resolution of this cliffhanger, because he immediately starts growing.
It didn't last long enough. I didn't get to see the brig taking care of baby Benton. I didn't get to see tiny third doctor wandering around trying to save the day while he's still so small. Why is this show getting so close to the thing that I want the most out of it and then not giving it to me? I think that's rude, to me personally, on purpose.
This show from before you were born, 1973,
He's just purposefully
was
fucking with me.
You know what? In 50 years' time, my math may be a little wrong, I'm not sure, we're really gonna fuck with this woman who's not born yet.
Totally.
Sounds legit. So, they try to kill the doctor, but are stopped, which is good, because that would have tipped off that the Eradicator didn't work, I guess. The Doctor finds out that he has missed his blue planet altogether.
He officially has to accept the fact that he was wrong.
Basically, the Doctor's like, look, I need to save Joe. And the Grey people are like, nah, don't think so. And then Vorg's like, this is a well-dressed motherfucker. I bet he works for the Carnival. And then starts speaking to him in Carney.
Yeah, he's like, it's secret Carney language.
I think that's a real thing.
He'll know what I'm talking about. Secret Carney language is a real thing?
I think so, yeah. Carney language. It's a thing. Carney lingo. It's totally a thing. They have slang and shit. What he said was an actual thing.
What did he say? And TARDIS, by the way, apparently doesn't do Carney. It's not translated. And the Doctor's like, sorry.
Parlay the Carney. Do you talk the Carnival language? Varda the Bonapalone. Look at the good-looking young girl. Niente denari here, you Jills. No money to be made here, you know?
Okay, but some of those are just Italian.
Yeah?
Okay.
But that's Carney language for you. Then the council agrees to turn off the Eradicator. Why?
By the way...
Mercy and compassion. What?
The Doctor, when he's still in the miniscope, deduces that he's in a miniscope. And we get a really nice bit where, like, the Doctor seems kind of blasé for a second.
I forgot to say that he does a Carney voice, though. He's like, it's a miniscope, it is, like, popular in carnivals and stuff, and starts doing the, like, whole shtick.
Like, step right up.
And he's doing the voice and everything, and it's great.
But
And Joe's like, please stop that. It's terrifying.
He seems, I think, a little blasé when he's describing what the miniscope is. And Joe is, like, offended. Like, oh, these are people in here, and they can't just scoop people up and take them around. And the Doctor's like, I know that. I hate them more than anyone. I petitioned to get these banned when I was, like, young, when I was, like, a young kid in Gallifrey. And that's why none of them exist anymore.
Again, Gallifrey's not been mentioned yet. When are we going to name it?
Has we not named it Gallifrey?
Not yet. We've just had Time Lords.
Oh. Anyway, I liked that scene a lot, because I really liked the idea of, like, the Doctor as a young activist just, like, standing around, like, shoving pamphlets in people's faces, like, miniscopes are unethical! Ban them! And, like, all the other Time Lords are like, fine. If we will just be more quiet, we'll do it, Jesus.
And it's a young William Hartnell, which is great. Sign my petition. Vorg is really sad because he feels like he's going to lose his entire collection.
His inventory. He's not...
His livestock is what he calls them.
Yeah, he's not at all concerned about, like, the livelihood of these people.
But the Doctor's like, I must save everyone, because that's what he does. Okay, so yeah, this is the point where Paul Scheer is, like, worried about treason. The one gray guy. And then that's when they're like, we'll put that piece into their bag, so that way if it comes out that it's treason, then it's them, not us. So Joe gets put back in the cabin, which is fine. She's got keys. She seems like just tired of the whole situation, dude.
She's very annoyed.
But the Doctor is like, I need to go back in. He's going to go in, reprogram it, and get everyone out of there. And it'll put them back to wherever they came from originally. Time and place. I don't know how, but it'll do it. Magic science. So he's like, you're going to have to shrink me. The Greys are not cool with this. They're going to shrink me and put me back in the machine.
I thought you said drink.
Shrink. The Greys are like, you cannot do that. And then they do it anyway.
And I say, shrink the Doctor! Do it!
So it's like a big machine. It's like like a copying machine. There's two handles on it. Two levers. There's like phase 1, which shrinks the Doctor. And phase 2 handle, which makes him come back and be big again. He's like, give me plenty of time to go rescue Joe and save people before flipping the second switch. And they flip the first switch, and the Greys are like, no, don't do it. And the Doctor shrinks and goes away, and they shoot the machine with their tuning forks and bust the second handle. So the Doctor's stuck in there. They've messed up the machine. So Vorg and Sherna start working on the machine to fix it, which I don't understand. There's a lot of like, Vorg and Sherna can't do anything, but they let them just hang out with the machine the entire time. They never, like, take Vorg and Sherna away, put them in a cell.
To be honest, and here's my theory, I think these gray guys are so boring and so much just the worst. Like, as a species, they're like the boring person at a party that you don't want to get stuck talking to. So, like, no one's ever visited their planet ever.
Also, I feel like there's a lot of, like, bureaucratic bullshit going on. So, like, we can't do this, but we can do this, and we have to do this.
Yeah, they seem like very
rules.
big sticklers for the rules. Again, not because they care about people or safety or feelings, but just because it's the rules. And yeah, I think it's very likely, like, that this is the first time they've ever had to do an actual job involving other people, and that's why they're so bad at it.
So, inside the machine, Doctor and Joe find each other inside the circuitry. Things are going bad. Basically, everybody's starting to slowly die in there because the life support systems are failing. And the people on the ship are fainting. And also, we forgot to mention, they've been trying to get transportation for Vorg and Sherna to take them off the planet. And it's just now showed up. So they've come to pick up all these foreigners, get rid of them. But it's this point that the Jurassic gets out of the machine and goes... and grows big and starts attacking everybody. There was a point, though, when they were fixing the machine that Sherna was, like, digging through their stuff and it's like, what's this thing? And he's like, I haven't seen one of these since the war and blah, blah, blah. I thought it was just a joke because he was going on and on instead of fixing the machine. And then she's like, fix the machine. He's like, oh, yeah, all right. He goes back to fixing the machine. But that's important.
It's the piece to the Eradicator.
Because they start shooting at the Drashigs. The Eradicator obviously doesn't work because it's missing the thing. And then Vorg's like, hold on, puts the piece back in and shoots the Drashigs and kills them. All the Drashigs are dead, everything's calming down, but like, the machine's still gonna whatever. And then Sherna's like, well, do phase 2. Did we fix it? And he's like, probably not. She's like, well, do you want to at least try? He's like, I guess. Flips the switch.
He has like no investment in like what happens to anyone else.
He flips the switch and it works.
They come back.
The ship people go back to being on Earth in their boat and vaguely remember the trip being long. The guy's like reading his book and he's like, I feel like I've been reading this book for forever. This chapter is very long. They mark off the calendar because it's been on that same day. There was a calendar earlier set up.
When I have really long days at work, I'm afraid that's what's happened.
You're stuck in a very long loop.
Yeah, because sometimes you get to the end of the day and you're like, why did this day feel like an entire week? And I think sometimes it did just last an entire week. I think
that's why we're tired all the time.
Yeah, because I'm out here having days that are lasting whole weeks, and I need a nap.
Do you mean like right now?
Yeah, I do.
Well, let's finish this up. So, they like thank the Carney for defeating the Drashigs and say, you were a great person. He's like, yeah, I should probably get a medal. I'm pretty great. It segues into him doing the shell game for the gray guy. And he's like moving the thing around. He's like, which one do you think it's under? And he's like, I think it's under that one. He's like, how much do you want to bet? And he's like, 2 credits.
2 credit bars.
And he's like, oh, sorry, you were wrong. He's like, oh, well, maybe, I think I know what you're doing. He's like, you willing to bet on it again? 10 credits. And like, Sherna's just like, wah, wah.
We're gonna make so much money here.
And during all this, the Doctor and Joe slip out in the TARDIS. The TARDIS disappears, confusing Vorg and the gray guy. But Sherna just smiles. She thinks it's neat.
Man.
And that's it.
She has a great costume.
She does.
I feel frustrated.
Why?
Because I feel like we didn't do a good enough job of describing how good this cereal is.
It's a lot of fun. Well, let's save it for final thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the end of Carnival of Monsters. We're going to go take a nap. You listen to this ad, and then we'll be back for final thoughts. Sound good? Cool.
In the mood to listen to some geeky conversations? Feel like the internet isn't the best place for an in-depth, respectful exchange of ideas? Then head on down to the 42cast. It's a weekly show that covers a new geeky topic in comics, TV, movies, literature, or video games every week. We can be informative.
Back in my day, kids, Pluto was a planet, so it's gonna stay a planet.
Irreverent.
You learn so much from the X-Men. I mean, really. That Wolverine is the most important character no matter what.
Strange.
It's like, Grodd if he went into theology or something.
Right?
Or controversial.
I believe, and I will swear to my dying day, that the Marvel Cinematic Universe began with Howard the Duck.
Find us on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, 42cast.com, or esopodcast.com. It's the 42cast, your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything.
Welcome back!
What?
You know what time it is?
The end of nap time?
Yep, we just woke up from our nap, and it is now time
Where's
for...
the fake yarn and then it was real?
And it is now time for...
Final Thoughts!
So Tony, what are your final thoughts? Go.
I almost feel frustrated about this podcast.
You don't think it's fun?
I don't think we did a good enough job explaining that this was a really great episode. And part of that is because there's a lot of humor that comes from, like, the interaction of the three gray guys. I mean, none of it's, like, big enough to be like, oh, and then this moment happened. Like, their delivery's really good. A
lot of banter.
A lot of banter, yeah. And it's hard to come back, like, 3-4 days later and it's like, remember that specific banter? But it's like everyone had really good relationships. And the way they all interacted, all your, like, secondary characters gelled real nicely and played off of each other. And it was just fun to watch. They were funny, and I enjoyed it. When we got to the end of this episode, I basically had said, this is one of my favorite all-time 3 serials. Even though the Doctor wasn't small for as long as I would have liked. I don't know, I really liked the humor in this serial. A lot of the times we've had a serial that's almost like this, where you're like, yeah, I saw all the, like, parts in it that were enjoyable, but it didn't all come together. This serial's, like, really cohesive, and all fits together really well. You just made a face like you disagree.
I do, but continue. I'll save it for my final thoughts.
Alright. More so than it has in the past, for sure. And it's fun. These characters are good characters. It's fun watching them interact and bounce off of each other. And I enjoyed it a whole bunch.
I agree mostly.
Okay.
I do think this was a lot of fun. I think it was super funny as well. The humor is great. Like that one line about that company making stuff that lasted forever and now they're bankrupt. That is, like, to me, like, sum up of how great the humor is in this serial. Like those sort of, like, clever jokes. Not just funny stuff. It's, like, clever and funny and poking fun at things. It's not just... it's not just funny, it's, like, clever funny. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I love Sherna and Vorg, and I like the gray guys. Don't get me wrong, I think they had, like, great patter, but I kind of got bored with their plot.
And to be fair, you do have that whole other race of, like, that's basically the slave race, and not only do we not do anything with them, we don't help them?
Like I said, they were just used as pawns at one point, where he's like, I'm just gonna get them all on my side, so...
I feel weird about that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of zoned out a lot during their, like, they'd had a lot of exposition. This is our plots and plans thing, and I was like, this is boring. I want to get back to the miniscope. I feel like the whole power struggle thing wasn't as interesting as the miniscope. I think it should have been more about what's in the miniscope and what could come out of the miniscope and cause problems. Maybe even having some of them come out and cause problems. Like, if I was to do this serial, like, the Cybermen would have come out, the Drashigs would have came out sooner, and there would have been more playing with that and less this political power struggle subplot.
I just feel really weird that we, like, set up this sort of shitty power dynamic and just leave it. I don't even think the Doctor was, like, aware of them at any point.
Vorg's about to wipe them out financially with its shell game. And to be fair, Vorg's not a great person.
No, I think that's kind of the fun thing, is that, really, who is? I mean, besides our team, besides Team TARDIS.
Sherna's okay.
Sherna's okay, yeah. People on the boat are alright.
Sherna keeps having to be like, Vorg, stop being a dickhead and help these
Vorg,
people.
be a person.
But no, I really, don't get me wrong, I love this serial. I think it's fantastic. The Drashigs were amazing. The idea, I love time loops. All the shrinking stuff was great. I like the idea of the miniscope.
I don't like the idea of the miniscope.
I mean, as a storytelling device.
Let me see them be mini. What's the point of making them be mini if I can't tell that they're mini?
That's fair. But I mean, I like the idea of having, like, a collection of miniaturized things. I like that idea. I like that idea, too. The things I don't like is, like, the sort of boring political stuff, and the fact that there's a sea monster for no reason. They could have done something a little bit. Like, I'm not sure why there had to be a sea monster there. It doesn't really add anything. But other than that, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun. And it moved nicely at a good pace.
Yeah.
And, I really liked it. And again, I really want to cosplay as, Vorg and Sherna.
You're going to do both of them?
I want to do both of them. No, I think you should be Sherna and I should be Vorg.
Alright.
I'd like to do that.
I've never sewn anything in my whole life, but we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. Sherna's would be a lot easier than Vorg. Sherna's just basically a leotard.
Yeah.
With, like, shit on it. Vorg has, like, this really fancy, like, overcoat. So
covered in sparkles and...
Yeah, his is way more complicated.
His sounds expensive.
Maybe you should just do Sherna. I'll just be one of the gray guys. Just shave my head.
Yeah.
So I've got, like, that Clint Howard thing going on.
That's what you're gonna look like when you're old.
Yeah, look at this.
You already have
forehead.
so much forehead.
You guys can't see it, but I have a very high forehead.
It takes up most of his face.
Yeah, and 80% forehead.
Yeah.
20%
Chin.
gorgeous.
What if you were just 20% chin? Just forehead and chin, and you had this tiny face in the middle? That's exactly what you would sound like.
Let's go down. But yeah, I really like the cereal. I think I prefer it to Time Monster.
I think so.
Sure. They're both crazy bonkers fun.
I think this one makes more sense all the way through. Whereas Time Monster, a lot of the times you're like, okay. And it's like, we're doing this now. And you're like, oh, sure.
Here's the thing about this serial. Not a single boring episode. Time Monster had a very long portion in Atlantis that I was just kind of mad about.
Yeah.
This is a little bit better, I'd say. Final thoughts?
Accomplished.
Done. Check. Mermaids.
Check. We're done. We've done an episode.
Real quick, before I do my bit, what is your rank? What is your C rank?
My C rank? I'm the landlubber. The lowest of the C ranks. What's your rank?
You know, I should have thought of a joke before I started this bit. I'm the C documentarian.
What's that mean?
I document the sea.
Is that a joke?
No, that's just my job. My job is not a joke, Tony.
I don't get it.
I'm sea documentarian Joe, like your landlubber Tony. I record every inch of the sea.
What are you making a joke?
No, that's my rank. Everybody has one.
I don't get it. I don't understand this bit that you're doing. Please explain it to me.
It's not a bit, Tony. It's my life. Did you hear about my heart earlier? Take me to a doctor. Anyway, if you liked this weird-ass episode...
Shocking.
You can check out more on watchathon.com. Be sure to rate and comment on our iTunes. It really helps us out. It gets us up on the charts, and people are like, hey, what's this show? Let's listen to it. That's great. I like it. What's my C rank?
If you want to, message us at our Tumblr, which is...
You just get to just by going to watchathon.com.
Yeah, and... if you message us and ask us what your C rank is, we will assign you one.
Yeah.
I've just decided that's a thing we're going to do.
We'll assign you a C rank, you guys. That's great. That's a great idea. And while you're on the website, if you'd like to help us out, you can go to watchyourassalon.com/support, or you can just click the little support button on the website. And there you'll find a link to our Patreon page, which you can get to just by going to patreon.com/watchathon. And there you can donate a monthly amount to get all kinds of rewards, like uncut video of the podcast records, where I go off on a weird tangent about something that probably didn't even happen in the episode, and the early episodes, and live streams of us watching the episodes. We watched this with a couple of people from our Patreon.
Yeah, it was fun hanging out with you guys. It's really nice to get your feedback instantly, because sometimes I feel like we're just watching the screen, staring dumbly. And we do less of that when we are also talking with you guys. Yeah. That's a lot of fun.
Like real live interaction. It's fun. It's nice.
I need that. I need social interaction.
Clearly, you landlubber. But also on that support page is a link to our Amazon wish list, where you can sponsor an episode of the podcast by purchasing the corresponding serial on DVD for us. We'll mention you in the podcast and put your name on our Friends of Rassilon page. Speaking of, special thanks again to Matt Golden for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
You can follow him on Tumblr at mgoldentumbles.tumblr.com. And speaking of, I would like to give a special shout out to all of our Friends of Rassilon, because we haven't done that in a while, and I think that you guys deserve recognition. I want to say thanks to Melissa of Malice Rewatches Doctor Who.tumblr.com. You're great. You're shiny. You watched this episode with us. It was fun hanging out with you. Ray Friesen.
He's okay.
Yeah, he's all right. Good friend and frequent guest. I think he's coming back soon for some dinosaur shenanigans.
Nice.
Brie Castellini. You can check out brainswebseries.com. She's also doing a new web series with Chris Cherry called
Sam and Pat Are Depressed.
Yeah, pimp that out since we forgot to do plugs last episode. Sam and Pat Are Depressed, a new web series from Undead Burrito Productions, which is the same people that did Brains and
It's coming
Relativity.
soon. It will be amazing.
I can guarantee you it's going to be hilarious. Brie is amazing. Rachel S. and Lewis. You guys are all awesome. Thank you for being Patreon patrons. And, but that's it for us. Tune in next time when we talk about Frontier in Space. Which sounds like Colony in Space. I'm going to get Colony and Frontier in Space mixed up from
Man,
here on
I
out,
had to
guarantee you.
edit Seeds of Death, and I kept being like, Seeds of Doom? No, Seeds of Death. Seeds of Death? No. Yeah, it's very
Caves of Seeds? Special guest Vincent E.L. will be joining us for Frontier in Space. So we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. We love you. Goodbye.
Keep calm and Rassilon.
What's your C rank?
I don't know, what did I say? Sea documentarian? That sounds about right.
What does that mean?
I document the sea!
Roll up, and see these funny little creatures in their native habitat. Watch them go through their funny little tricks. Poke them with a stick and make them jump.